There's a hill,
mountain,
in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia that most people pass without a second thought. It's not tall, it doesn't look dangerous, and today it's crisscrossed with hiking and biking trails. But it has a name that stops you cold: Melancholy Mountain. In April of 1842, two little girls walked in the woods near this hill or mountain and never walked back out. Nearly 180 years later, someone biking those same trails swore he heard children calling out to one another on a day when no one else was there. This isn't a ghost story, it's a true tragedy, and this place remembers.
I was thinking about today's episode, and I had a question for you.
I'm scared.
What's the most lost not lost, but what's the most anxiety-inducing situation you've been in?
The one time where I was on Franny Mountain, and we were surrounded by people, and then we all of a sudden we were coming down. Like the more like the ATV type feeling.
Yeah, so if you do it clockwise, it's kind of like you hit the peak and then you come back down.
And it's like a trail on the one way, and then it feels like you're on like a road basically on the other way. It feels like you're on an ATV. And then when I was doing that and we were surrounded by people, and then all of a sudden we weren't, and Nellie just decided to sit down and refused to move. And then...
So she could sense something.
Yeah, that was really scary because she refused to move for like a good 5 minutes. And then I was like, well, this is where I die. And then I did see some bear tracks after that, so there's probably a bear.
Yeah, nothing is more sobering when you're in nature and the dogs just tense up for a couple minutes.
Or sometimes when Nellie, but usually she ends up growling at like branches, or not branches, like stumps that look like something, but when she just sits or like and like kind of like hunches down and then starts growling, like when she starts growling, that's like terrifying. But yeah, what about you?
I was trying to think, because today's episode's about being lost in the woods, and I was trying to think about times I've been lost.
Probably many.
I mean, none more than when I look into your eyes.
Oh my God.
Moving
on.
But other than that, I think back to like, I've never had times where I've seriously been in trouble or been like, I have to call search and rescue right now, but I can think of a couple times. I remember the first time I did the seawall with my friends, and we had to get down Seawall Mountain, and I thought it'd be quicker if we kind of cut through to a ridge on the other side and then came over. And we didn't get lost at any point, but it was one of those situations where you're in the middle of the backcountry and you're like, oh, I don't exactly know where I am right now. And it was really cold and wet.
Yeah.
And I felt my body temperature dropping, and I was like, okay, I'm not in trouble right now. But it's like, I've had lots of moments like that are really sobering, where you're not in danger, but you do kind of realize the gravity and the nature of your situation, where you're like, okay, this is like what could happen.
Yeah. Well, it was like when we were on the seawall.
Yeah. So in that
and you started panicking, and I got mad at you and said you're not allowed to panic.
I started panicking because we already lost one GPS, and then we were using your phone for another GPS, and then our position just wasn't updating.
Yeah, because like my Garmin just wasn't working for some reason. Yeah.
Exactly. But even then I was like, okay, I know we have to go in this direction towards the beach, towards the ocean.
But you weren't like fully calm either.
No, I definitely wasn't, because it was just like...
It was like pouring rain.
And do you remember we kept like... The woods kept getting increasingly claustrophobic.
Oh, yeah. No, it was awful.
It was horrible, yeah.
And then I got mad at you because I said, you can't panic right now. You're not allowed to.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can think of several situations like that where, again, very sobering moments, but not like we need help.
No.
So, yeah, I mean.
Because you don't go with the dog. See, when you go with the dog, you never get lost.
No. Especially Nellie. She's basically like a little guide somehow.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why I've never gotten lost, because Nellie always knows the way.
Well, I mean, even just last Saturday when we were hiking 2 days ago. Remember?
Yeah.
There was like that little split situation, and we were like, which way, Nelly? And then she just sniffed and picked the right way. So
I remember the first time I did like the Blue Mountain Trail, which is like, or not Blue Mountain, but like, you know, like that whole wilderness area, how there's like the ash, and it's so confusing to do because it's like, it's so hard to like tell what is the right trail without a GPS. I don't know. Do you have the same thought? Question mark.
yeah, definitely.
But I remember the first time I did it because I had Nelly, so she like showed me all the right spots. Thank goodness, because I'd still be in the woods by then.
So I mean, yeah, if you think about getting a trail aware dog, it can pay off.
Yeah.
So we have a great little episode today. Speaking of being lost, that's kind of the theme of this one. So do you want to dive right into this?
But you know what? I just realized that I don't have a joke. Do you have a joke?
Can we say me getting lost in your eyes was a joke, even though it's so true?
All right. Let's start. To understand how this happened, you have to imagine Dartmouth as it was in the early 1840s. This wasn't the Dartmouth we know today. There were no subdivisions, no highways, no trail maps. Just scattered farms, dirt roads, and vast stretches of dense woodland. A few miles from the Dartmouth Ferry, along the road leading towards Preston and Porter's Lake, lived John Meagher, an Irish immigrant with his wife Jane and their children. Their farm sat on an upland ridge between two lakes overlooking the main road. Remote but not isolated, familiar but still wild. The Meaghers had several children. Martha, the eldest, 11 years old. Jane Elizabeth was 6. Margaret, known as Maggie, just 4, and a newborn son, George. By all accounts, this was a typical working family of the time. And like many children growing up near the woods, Jane Elizabeth and Maggie were used to roaming the family's land. That familiarity would later become a dangerous assumption. So while I was researching, there's like a little bit of inconsistency because some of like the Halifax, so I like looked at like some news articles like Halifax Examiner and like other things, like all like very official things. But they all, some have like say things happened on April 10th, and then there's like a whole book that's called Babes in the Woods, and it says a different date. So it's kind of like, I don't know if it's just like, you know, like as time goes, because this happened in the 1840s, so it's like, was there just like a typo at one point?
Was the discrepancy in the year or like the day?
Just the day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not totally sure. I do know for sure it was 1842.
Okay.
So
yeah.
it was April 1842 is when they went missing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so some accounts say that the girls went missing on April 10th, 1842, and then others say April 11th. So
right.
that might just be like a little...
In and around there, they went missing.
Somewhere in April. Yeah. But what is consistent across nearly every source is this. It was a beautiful, mild spring day. John Meagher was sick with measles. Some sources say that illness had passed through much of the household, while others recount his wife Jane being busy caring for the newborn and Martha, the eldest child, busy helping with the chores. Regardless of what the truth is, that morning Jane Elizabeth and Maggie went into the woods. They weren't running away, they weren't disobedient, they were doing what they'd done many times before, heading out to pick berries. They were small, they were close to home, and no one thought there was any danger. As the hours passed, no one was worried, not at first.
It's really funny. So I shot a video on this story. It's on my YouTube, Alex Lynch, Melancholy Mountain. But we went to the Dartmouth Heritage Museum.
Yeah.
And interviewed one of the curators / I think her actual title, Shannon, she was great. I think she's a collections manager.
Okay, yeah.
That's her official title. And so she was telling us a story like you are right now. And then I have my good friend Scott, who was there helping me shoot it. And he kind of started poking holes in the story a little bit. So he was like, well, let's back up a sec. So it was April and they were picking berries, which is like a fair point. Because if you think about it, we're what? March?
This is April.
Oh yeah, we're in April already.
This is basically, it's April, 7th, 8th?
So we're almost on the
April
anniversary.
5th.
Yeah, so we're on the anniversary of it.
Yeah.
There are no berries up there right now.
No.
So, and winters were longer and harsher back then. So it's like, maybe they weren't.
Yeah, there's some weird, and like you said, with like how the dates are wrong, like also kind of how I just mentioned, like some said like the whole family had measles, and then some say like only the dad did. So it's like weird that different sources have different things. So I feel like there's just like a lot of inconsistencies there. Like there's no like full consistency, which
is fair. Like it's a very local folklore story from a long time ago, which makes sense. But I mean, poor Shannon having to answer to Scott's
I can only imagine. Because what does this say? Yeah, like this says that they're confined to their house by sickness on this map that you have. But like some of them were like, oh, like the mom was busy because she has a newborn child. Like she just gave birth to this child. So she is at home with it. So it's like...
So who knows the truth?
They
were bedridden for some reason.
Yeah, so it's just like a little bit of... Take it with a little bit of grain of salt. Grain of salt? Salt of grain?
It's salted grain for sure.
All right. So it wasn't until late in the day when dinner came and went that John started to worry. The girls hadn't returned. John sent a hired man to look for them. The man walked into the woods, listened, and at one point thought he heard something, but he didn't follow it. He assumed, as so many did, that the girls would wander home on their own. As evening fell, the assumption began to feel wrong. Despite being ill, John Meager got out of bed and went searching himself. Neighbors were called, lanterns were lit. They combed the woods behind the clearing through the night and found nothing. By morning, the weather had turned. The mild spring air gave way to cold and a couple of inches of snow fell. Word spread quickly through Dartmouth and Halifax. A formal search began. At first, there was hope. Tiny footprints were found in patches of snow, but they vanished just as quickly as they appeared. Searchers found a scrap of clothing. One account mentioned a child's apron stained with blood, but unfortunately that didn't help with the search. According to one account, a child reported hearing cries in the woods during the night while cutting firewood. He called out. The crying stopped. He assumed it was an animal. As the days passed, the scale of the search became enormous. Newspapers published urgent pleas for help. By the weekend, 3,000 people had gathered in Dartmouth to search. 3,000 people, all looking for 2 little girls.
That's something Shannon said when we were talking to her, was downtown Dartmouth was noticeably quieter than normal. Yeah, she said it was dead on the streets because
everybody was out searching.
The whole city was out.
Yeah,
and I mean, I can't recall exactly off the top of my head the distance between this and downtown Dartmouth, but back then it's not a quick car ride like it is today. It's quite the journey to get down there. So it kind of goes to show the community was behind this and people were looking, and I think that's a big reason why this story is still around today.
Yeah, and like because it's like near like Waverly, kind of in Dartmouth, and that's not really like downtown. No, and especially not then when there weren't that many roads. Like all those neighborhoods wouldn't exist.
Yeah, like it's not just an easy day trip. Like you're taking time to go down here. So yeah.
By midweek, the truth became harder to avoid. The nights were cold. The girls had no outer clothing. They had been gone for days. Most people believed the children could not have survived beyond the second night. And yet, no one stopped looking. As the week closed, all hope of finding them alive was gone. But still, the woods were searched.
We were listening to an episode, one of our favorite outdoor true crime podcasts, National Park After Dark. We were listening to an episode, the hockey player snowboarder who went missing.
Yeah. One of their newer episodes, yeah.
Yeah, basically there was like a 12-year search for this guy who...
But it was mostly just the parents.
Yeah, it was mostly the parents, but what's the term? It was like ambiguous grieving or something like that. That's not right. But it was basically like that state where the parents can't truly grieve because
you don't know if the person's actually dead to grieve.
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't have that closure. So I'd imagine that was a big motive here. It's like, okay, well, it's not middle of winter, but it's cold out. They're probably dead, unfortunately, but you kind of have to find them to close that door. So
it was Peter Curry and his dog Rover, what an unoriginal name. Sorry.
Unoriginal now. Back then, they were probably like, whoa.
Maybe he was the original Rover.
I just think my dog Sam.
Oh my. So his
Tucker. Oh, I'm thinking. Do you want to get we can get 2 golden retrievers, one boy, one girl.
Call them Sam and Tucker.
Tucker and Sadie.
Oh, Sadie is a very...
That's never been done.
No.
Rover's actually pretty good.
Or Fido.
The Fido's a great one.
Fido's good because people don't actually name their dog Fido, I don't think. But it is like the John Doe of dogs' names.
Oh, 100%.
So.
I'm not hating. Like, those are objectively cute names for Golden, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Shout out my dad's Golden, Ted.
Teddy, yeah.
Teddy. That's probably been done before, but he's
That's
perfect.
okay.
He's perfect.
That's all right.
All right, moving on.
Moving on. It was Peter Curry and his dog Rover who finally found them. High on Huckleberry Hill, deep in the woods, a place now known as Melancholy Mountain. The girls had traveled nearly 6 kilometers from home, much farther than anyone had believed possible. Later, a map would be drawn, tracing the likely route they'd taken, winding, disoriented, and always moving forward. And that's what you have right here.
Yeah, so I'll kind of, I mean, not on streaming
on our
platforms,
phones.
but on socials, I'll post a picture of this map. But I mean, I'm not implying that something nefarious happened, like there is someone had some motive, but it is kind of funny to me. It's like, okay, they were picking berries. There's obviously no berries, and then so there was snow on the ground, but they couldn't retrace their steps. Question mark.
It's also like 6 kilometers is far in the woods.
Yeah, it's really far. Yeah.
Like, how long is that trail?
A round trip is about 5 kilometers.
So, like, that's like... I just feel like that's like...
It's a long distance to travel. And
on a thing that's not a trail.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to assume that, they were murdered or something crazy.
I'm just saying, like, it's like...
I am a little bit.
Well, I don't know. I just feel like they kind of maybe... There's like nobody else talks about something nefarious happening, so I'm not going to go with that. But it is like, it does seem like we just kind of accepted fate.
A lot of details lost to time. One of the questions I asked when we were at the museum is do we know that it was renamed because of this? Because like you said, it used to be called Huckleberry Hill, and now it's Melancholy Mountain. It seems a little uncanny that that would happen for no reason.
Yeah.
There's no official record, or we don't know for sure.
Okay.
But I mean, all signs point to it. So that was a question I asked.
Okay. Yeah, because that kind of seems like...
Why would
you? Yeah. But if it's called Huckleberry Hill, isn't Huckleberry a berry?
A berry, yeah.
So maybe that's what they're picking.
That is what they... That's what I was told, is that they were picking huckleberries, yeah.
So maybe we should look into when huckleberries harvesting season is.
I don't know if this is true, but I remember Scott being like, I think huckleberry is like a late summer thing, isn't it?
Oh no. Maybe they're gathering the seeds to plant. I don't know.
I don't know.
So the girls had traveled nearly 6 kilometers, much farther than anyone had believed possible. Margaret, little Maggie, appeared to have died in her sleep. Her cheek rested against her sister's. Jane Elizabeth's eyes were open, which I find that so creepy.
Horrifying.
Also, like, how likely is it that you're dying with your eyes open? Is that like, if you're like dying of hypothermia, which is what these girls, like, are you really dying with your eyes open?
I think it could happen. I mean, if you're basically catatonic at that point, right? You're not moving. You could just be lying there with your eyes open, and then you pass.
Yeah.
So I think it's probable. I mean, think about all like the classic movie deaths where the person dies and they like close their eyes.
I know, but I feel like that's just for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm saying it could happen.
It definitely could. Her face was described as pinched and anxious, as though years of fear had been pressed into those final days. She had likely stayed awake, watching, waiting. They died of exposure, most likely on the second night. The girls were buried together in one casket in the intertwined position in which they were found. They became known forever as the Babes in the Woods. At the top of the hill where they were discovered, a small stone cairn and cross were erected. In Woodlawn Cemetery in Dartmouth, a headstone bears the name of all of John and Jane Meagher's children. John and Jane are buried there too, as are Martha and George. On top of a stone tabletop monument sits a plaque honoring Jane Elizabeth and Maggie. That monument exists because of Peter Curry. He was given a reward for his role in the search, and he used that money to pay for the memorial instead. which is really sweet.
It's so sweet.
You didn't have to do that. There are even whispers that a statue of the girls exists, stored away in a museum. Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that. I can confirm that it's true.
Is it? Yeah.
Yep.
Did you see it?
No, so it's actually away in one of their facilities, like
Okay.
in their actual storage facility. It's not in the museum itself.
Why?
I think it's just one of those things where there's just so much stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But you kind of have to pick and choose what you have out. But
Yeah.
I think they do kind of cycle through things a little bit too.
Oh,
So
okay.
like they'll move things out of the museum, bring
Yeah.
things in. But it does exist and they are in possession of it. So that's pretty cool.
Was that your first time visiting the museum?
It was. Yeah.
Did you actually get to like look around, or were you just there?
No, we did look around a little bit. They were very good to us. They were like, you can go set up anywhere in the museum, take a walk around, pick your place. So we did get to see quite a bit. There wasn't a ton on display. It was a lot of posters and kind of things to read
Okay. Yeah.
versus look at, because
But-
it is a pretty small building, but
Yeah.
it's really cool. I definitely recommend going.
And where is it again?
It is right downtown Dartmouth. I don't recall the street name, but if you just look up Dartmouth Heritage Museum.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I'd never even heard of it, so
Yeah, no,
I feel like a lot of people probably haven't.
worth a visit, especially if this kind of history is your thing.
Yeah. Today, Melancholy Mountain is a modest hike, about 5 kilometers round trip, a gentle elevation gain, old wood roads, power lines, and a short bushwhack to the summit. Is it a bushwhack?
I mean, so getting to the actual look off isn't a bushwhack, but I would say to get to kind of the back end of the mountain where the cross is, it definitely is bushwhack territory. It doesn't take super long, but you're like, the terrain's pretty wild.
Yeah, because when we last time did it, there was like a bunch. Was there?
There was snow.
Yeah, there was snow, and it was a little more difficult to get down there.
And I don't know, every time I'm back there, the state of it is deteriorating a little bit, but there are like, someone actually took the time to set up little barcodes on the trees that you can scan on your phone, and it takes you to a website about this.
I was trying to find that, but I couldn't, I don't know if I wasn't searching for the right things.
Yeah, I have the link saved somewhere, but you can find little QR codes on the trees and scan it, and then it'll kind of lead you to the next one as well.
Yeah, so do the hike and do it, because I couldn't find the website.
No, definitely go do it.
Have you ever found it creepy when you went up there?
Incredibly.
Yeah.
So I think one of the first times I did it with Scott as well, we made a point of going on the anniversary on the day. Mm-hmm. And it was so quiet back in the woods. I remember we were hiking back and there was a freshly fallen tree. I think it was a big hemlock that had just fallen across the trail. Yeah. And now there's actually a path going around the tree.
Oh,
but
okay.
when we first did it, the tree had freshly fallen and we had to kind of forge a path around it. And we're
give you a little bit of chills.
Yeah, it kind of feels like we shouldn't be going back here for some reason. Yeah. But every time I've been back at that cross, there is definitely a little bit of an eerie silence.
Yeah.
You can feel some kind of, I'm not saying ghosts because I'm not a believer in the paranormal necessarily, but there's a vibe. There's definitely an undeniable vibe.
But it's not creepy.
It's not creepy. You can just feel the sadness almost. You can feel like the power of this event in some kind of way. Yeah. Which is
Because which we still need to research, but I don't know if I actually want to research it, but Cole Harbour Trails, which is near-ish, kind of, that has a very creepy vibe to it, and there's a whole cemetery in there, so there's definitely creepy things that happen there. Whereas this, it doesn't feel creepy to me. It just feels.
Really? So you didn't feel any kind of thing back when you were back there? Okay.
And both times, well, I don't know if I remember if you told me that there was 2 girls had died up there the first time we did it. I can't remember.
I definitely would have told you the story before.
You would have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I didn't find that creepy at all. But anyways, I will get into that in a bit about a creepy encounter.
Really? Oh, okay. Excited. Just because I never saw anything paranormal about this, but you have something.
Something.
Okay.
Yeah. So it sits within the Lake Major watershed area. You're able to hike and bike as long as you're respectful and follow the posted rules. But standing at the top, knowing what happened here, the silence feels heavier. So I found this post on Facebook. So it was April of 2020, so during COVID lockdowns. And a man, so it's just a Facebook group about Spider Lake trails, hiking and biking, just a random, when I was researching.
Oh, wow. So you're deep into the Facebook groups to find this.
Oh, when I just Googled the story, it came up as like at one of the top hits. Because obviously like Google kind of like searches everything. But so I found this like very local Facebook group. And wasn't private or anything, so I was able to read it. But so during the COVID lockdowns, a man set out on his mountain bike to explore some new trails when he came upon a narrow, overgrown, and barely marked trail. Curious, he decided to follow the path up. The trail was narrow, overgrown, and barely marked. As he climbed, he heard voices ahead of him. Children calling out to one another. He assumed a family was hiking further up the trail. As he continued, the voices faded. When he got home, his wife noticed something was off. He felt sad, unsettled. Later, he learned the name of the hill he'd been on. Melancholy Mountain. Curious, he looked it up and found the story of Jane Elizabeth and Maggie. It was only then that he realized something else. There had been no family ahead of him that day. And the date was, so his was like April 10th, 2020. But then some of the sources say April 11th. So we're just going to let that pass. But it was exactly 178 years after the girls had disappeared.
Oh, wow. So when Scott and I went, that would have been 180.
Because you went in 2022?
Yep. Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, chills.
If you've ever been deep in the woods, you know how sound carries and how sometimes the past feels very close. So the story is kind of confusing because some of the details don't line up and details change depending on the source. Some say everyone was sick. Some say only the father was. Some accounts even get the birth order wrong. But that's what happens when history is passed down through newspapers, books, and memory. But the core truth never changes. 2 little girls went into the woods, thousands searched for them, and a community never forgot. Melancholy Mountain isn't haunted because of ghosts. It's haunted because of grief, and some places never let that go. The end.
That was fantastic.
Okay.
That was a great ending. Thank you. It's a great story. I can't believe we never thought to do this, considering we both knew about this story for a while, and it's kind of lines up perfectly with our theme. So.
Oh no, it's perfect. And like, I didn't know this story before you told me about it, and I didn't even know that this hike existed, even though it's like super short, super close. If you're like in Dartmouth, Halifax, it's a good little hike. Yeah,
it's a great day trip for especially if you're in based in HRM. It's a really great story. It is really cool that you pulled something paranormal about this because, like I said, I'm not really a believer in ghosts, but I do love ghost stories. So
this person says he isn't a believer in, which whether that's true or not, a lot of people say that they aren't.
Yeah,
I just found that like that would be so creepy if we were like hiking and all of a sudden we heard little girls like yelling to each other. I would just
100%.
turn around and just die right there.
Also, if ghosts are real, I don't think I'll ever experience it because I would want it too much.
Yeah.
I think I've said that before, actually.
I was going to say that was like our first the first one I ever did. When we were talking about the White Mountains, the hut, you're like, oh, like a ghost would never find me because I want it too much.
Oh, yeah. Was that episode 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So you should listen to all our episodes because maybe they get better with time.
I don't know.
I've never went back and listened.
Me neither. I kind of cringe at everything I ever make. Podcast or videos, or I hate everything I make.
But this is also going to be in your book.
This will be in the book. Probably one of my favorite stories that's included with the mountain off the top of my head. So, and speaking of the podcast, it's been a little hiatus between episodes.
Yeah, a long hiatus.
Yeah, basically not intentional. It's just, I think life. And like originally we kind of had the timeline of like, an episode out every 2 weeks, and we would rotate so that it's a month for each person between episodes. But just on top of work and everything else I'm editing, it's just like it was a lot to add in. So we kind of agreed that we're definitely going to keep doing this podcast for a long time. It's just going to be more of a when it's convenient and when we have time versus
like a little Easter egg hunt, which because it's Easter.
Happy Easter.
So it'll just happen
for those who celebrate. Yeah.
So it'll just be out when it's out.
Exactly. It's just we're just gonna have fun with it. I don't want to put time constraints on it.
For like one listener.
If you guys do want to hear episodes, oh yeah. Speaking of which, obviously our listenership isn't massive, but there is a small group of people that listen to every episode, and I really appreciate you guys. So there's like probably like 20 people who I know like listen to every episode, and you guys are awesome. So I appreciate the support, and we will be back. And if this is a podcast you want to hear a lot more of, tell your friends and help us grow it, because then
maybe
we'll
get us
definitely
21 listeners.
Yeah, because then we'll definitely be more motivated to do this consistently. So
yeah.
I will tease you guys a little bit and say my episode, the next time we do sit down to record, is going to be the biggest true crime case that we've covered. We've only covered one real true crime story, being my Lahave River story.
Oh, yeah. I was like, which one?
Yeah, the Lahave River.
I'm scared, but I'm also like intrigued.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's somewhat local, so I'm excited to dive into that next time.
Give us your thoughts of what you think it is, because I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a big one in the Maritimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So write your thoughts.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be back soon, hopefully, maybe.
Maybe. Might be a year from now.
I had fun sitting down though.
Yeah.
It was good to do it again.
It was cozy.
Yeah. So always remember. Remember. I always slur that word. Remember.
So always remember.
The more footsteps.
No, I don't like saying it that way.
I thought.
No, I don't like saying.
Okay.
The more footsteps.
The more folklore.
Okay, bye.
Bye.